And it's us. Nope, not Mike O'Neill. Stephen Hacker and Cameron Irvine here with you. It's This Week in the SFL Week 8 edition with our guest co-host Stephen Hacker. Thanks for joining us on your bye week. How's it treating you?
Oh, the bye week always gives me nerves. We're always anxious to get back out on the field, Cam. Just always anxious to compete. So these bye weeks are killer for us. But the front office has been hard at work. Coaching staff's been chewing up the film and getting ready to put together a great product.
Well, thanks for filling in for Mike O'Neill, who's stuck at some airport tonight. We get right into Week 8 action. 3 unbeaten teams still remain, including your Fort Worth Toros. Charleston is victorious in the Corbin Cup for the first time since season 18 in a stunning upset in Sin City. But first, we go to an instant classic, Stephen Hacker, and that was in Washington, D.C., where Baltimore and D.C. were meeting for a rematch that they had in a 31-30 thriller from 3 weeks ago. Daley Holder gets us in the end zone first on a Wigmore rollout, made it 7-3 Vultures. Then Shabazz Synergy bounces back, finds Mike Churchill to start the second quarter, puts D.C. up 10-7. A lot of touchdowns, a lot of offense in this one. Wigmore fires down the field, caught by Caesar Ackerman, the tight end. Under 2 minutes to go in the fourth, 14-10, but that's plenty of time for the DC Dragons. Shabazz Synergy finds his receiver crunched down at the 1-yard line. They'll take a timeout just in time to dump the pass off to Kevin Say for this officially 1-yard touchdown. Boop, right over the top is Giovanni Bolt unable to get to Kevin Say in time. So 17-14 DC, a minute to go in the first half. Nobody's going to score anymore in the second quarter, right? Wrong. Jag Wigmore fires down the field, caught by Ivory Irvin. That helps Baltimore near field goal range. And then with 25 seconds to go in the first half, it's Ivory Irvin again after a blindside hit to Wigmore. Crunched him. 17-17, third and goal. Kevin Say can't get in. Defended by Frank Smith beautifully. That forces a field goal to the DC Dragons, 20-17. Baltimore would climb back in it, but not before DC gets a sack. Finally, some defense here, Hack.
Yeah, and it's great to see that. Both of these teams know each other very well, so you know that pressure is going to get home eventually.
Jag Wigmore fires it down the field, caught by Mac Chima. Late in the third quarter to give Baltimore first and goal. They would score a touchdown, 24-20 now. Look at Shabazz Synergy, work in the pocket. Patience, fires down the field, hits Mike Churchill. Almost got his second touchdown, got it down near the 2-yard line at the end of the third quarter. Say Jr. and James Walters loves that. Third down and goal. Kevin Say this time gets in. Look at him dodging that tackle, making sure he gets in the end zone. But Kevin Say would get hurt in the fourth quarter and would not return. 7 minutes and change. Down 3. Jack Wigmore. Look at the pocket presence down the field. Finds an open Ivory Irvin down to the 6-yard line. If you give guys enough time, they're going to deliver, Hack.
Yeah, especially when you got an explosive weapon like Ivory Irvin running down the field. Spun a little bit early there, if you ask me, but if that's what great receivers do. They get open, they find that open gap in the defense and find a window for the quarterback.
T-Roy finds his way into the end zone, so Baltimore retakes the lead 31-27. Hey, who's that? Chuck Steller into the game for the injured Kevin Say gets a first down. Then Shabazz Synergy down the middle. Lauren Percoco, the team's leading receiver this season, converts the first down, but not before Troy Loshaw also gets hurt. He was the fourth different player to leave this game with an injury. It was a knockout, drag down fight in the Atlantic Division. Handoff, Chuck Steller, got it. DC retakes the lead with 5 minutes to go, 34-31. Now it's Baltimore's turn to answer. Jack Wigmore down the field, caught by Chima, down to the 7-yard line, down 3. But watch this on third down and goal. Pitch, gains, nothing. Love those goal line stands. Would tie it 34-34. Third and 4. Look at the Baltimore defense getting involved. They get a key stop. Back-to-back 3-and-outs for DC late in this one. That was the difference, Hacker.
Yeah, and that's what you need. You need your defense to help your team out, and getting the opposing offense off the field is a great recipe.
That is what DC could not do to T-Roy Gaines on the ensuing possession. He bowls over a defender. That set up Shark Tarkington, 31 yards. That is easy for him, especially in the dome. Right down the middle. That kick is good. And look at that. The Baltimore Vultures beat the DC Dragons 31-30 in their first meeting, beat them 37-34 in their second meeting, and improved to 4-3 on the season, dropping the Dragons to 3-4. 626 yards. That is a new era SFL record for Baltimore, and nearly had 10 more minutes of time of possession against the Dragons. Your thoughts on Baltimore getting another slender win as they improve to 4-3?
Yeah, that Atlantic division is extremely tight, extremely close right now. And before I get into any more analysis, DC looked great. Love those uniforms. Destro does great work off the field getting those uniforms designed. Those were really crisp uniforms. Really like that look. But in the Atlantic, DC at the bottom there with a plus 25 point differential. So they are losing close games. It's tough there in the Atlantic, and Carolina there at the top right now. But Baltimore's knocking on the door, Cam, and their remaining schedule that we talked about before is really, really easy, if you ask me. They've got a really nice a spot to get to the playoffs here. All they have to do is take care of business. So right now, the Atlantic is anyone's to win, but I think Carolina's really got to stay on top of their game if they want to keep Baltimore out.
And why is it anyone's to win? Well, Charleston made it a whole lot more difficult on Carolina to seal it. Corbin Cup back to the highlights, and John Lakeman was throwing dimes all night. Brian Murphy with the first touchdown of the game makes it 7-0. Look at that beauty from Lakeman to Benjamin Warner down to the 5-yard line early in the second quarter with Charleston up 7-0, and Lakeman was not done. Back of the end zone. That is a tough angle, and that's Brian Murphy again. 2 touchdowns in 13 minutes in this one put Charleston up 14-0. Finally, before the end of the first half, Carolina's offense got moving. Matt South hits Riley Quintero, but it was tough sledding all night, particularly for that run game. Now, third quarter, 14-7. Torrey Hanzo gets Carolina moving in it. It felt like there was a little bit of momentum turn there early in the third for the Skyhawks.
Yeah, and they have a nice 1-2 punch there with Ike McBride and Hattori Hanzo. Both can move the chains for your offense and buy some time for your quarterback, like they did right there for Matt South.
Shea Carroll with that reception, but only resulted in a field goal, 14-10. Now John Lakeman again. Brian Murphy now 17-10, 6 minutes to go in the fourth. Kind of a stalemate in the second half. But here, again, Lakeman on a rollout. It's Brian Murphy and a nice block pickup in the backfield. Murphy's 4 catches all in this highlight. Now, Lakeman one more time. Look at him. Rolling out to his right, finds Benjamin Warner. John Lakeman, just really impressive in their victories. Not so impressive in their losses. That's been key. And then with 4 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, Saren Storm bangs it in and gives Charleston a 24-10 lead. So, Matt South, one more chance to get something going. Corey Menner back in Charleston. What a play. Bats it to his teammate, J.W. Hartshorn, who had 2 picks in this one. And that was it, 27-10. Charleston would get the win over Carolina, drop the Skyhawks to 4-3. Vultures are 4-3. DC's 3-4. And now Charleston's 3-4. So you alluded to it earlier, Hack. Here's the remaining schedules for the teams in the Atlantic. Baltimore's is by far the easiest. They do not take on another opponent with a winning record until the very last game of the season at Carolina. Now, obviously, Charleston is going to be tough in a couple of weeks. You never know with Jacksonville and any of these teams, really. But considering the other teams' schedules, Baltimore's got to be feeling pretty good about where they sit right now.
Yeah, to quote Mike Sangreen, any given sim day, any matchup you can lose. You have to do your homework. You have to put in the right game plan. But when you just look at the combined wins of these remaining games, and you couple that with the experience that Baltimore's coaching staff has, you feel like you could put them against anybody, even if that was a winning record that these teams had across the board. You would still feel like Baltimore has a good shot. So they're just a world-class organization. They know what they're doing.
Here's Carolina's, of course, the game at the end of the season with Baltimore. But you can see they still have at Florida and at Canton on the schedule. They got a tough Louisiana team next week, who we'll see later in the Monday Night Spectacular. I don't know about it, Hack. That was not a very impressive win this weekend against Charleston, and Carolina really needs to do some soul searching. They've been teetering a little bit the past few weeks. They only put up 6 against DC a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, and this is probably a really good opportunity for Carolina, a team historically that's kind of been on the wrong side of the coin, coming out and really through the first half of the season are in first place in their division. So yeah, they need to look themselves in the mirror, figure out what they were doing right, and figure out how to capture that. Because yeah, you're looking at this schedule, much more tough. You got a 7-0 Florida team, Baltimore to end the season. I mean, that's those 2 games right there are going to just determine what you do the rest of the way. Just and that's not including a tough Louisiana team in there, a tough, almost division-winning Canton team in there right now. I mean, that's a tough one.
Look at Charleston. They got that big game against Baltimore after their bye, so at least they get 2 weeks to prepare for that. But still some tough road games. The rematch of the Corbin Cup. I know Carolina's going to be fighting with that one. And you never know with DC at the end of the season. That was the matchup in week 1 that Charleston won 31-28. But week 14, week 1, total different ball games there for the Preds, who are getting a little bit of momentum now at 3-4.
Yeah, and Charleston has I've seen them go to bat for their quarterback John Lakeman a couple of times this season, fully invested in their quarterback, and they really believe in their culture. Again, wanted to point out their helmets in that last game; those are pretty baller. I like the logo, the palm tree, and all that. They're really great design stuff there. A+. So want to give credit where credit's due there. But they really believe in their team structure. They got a solid defense. Jack Brown is somebody you can count on there at the linebacking core that can really help your defense. So I think they have a shot. Again, that Atlantic division, it's anybody's ball game really. So a couple of wins here, beat Baltimore, beat Carolina, and all of a sudden you're in first place in that division.
And then there's DC, the key for the Dragons, 3 of their last 5 on the road, including the next 2. That game at Motor City is going to be key. They host Florida and Canton late. So DC's got a couple prove-it games. They have lost some nail-biters. Like you said, plus 25 in turnover differential. They are a good team, but eventually you got to pick up some wins if you're going to make the playoffs. So that's a look at the Atlantic remaining schedules. Let's get back to the highlights, and let's go to Vegas, where Arizona was in town to take on the Fury. Great uniform matchup here. Will Todd from Ashley Jackson gets us started 7-0. 3rd and goal. Look at Sean Moore. Oh! Spears! Hubba Kimbrell on the dive. Beautiful play resulted in a Vegas field goal. It was all Arizona early, and honestly, Hack, I was kind of snoozing through this game. I thought Arizona had it. So did they. Ashley Jackson fires down the field. James Hands with the, or was that Donnie Hands? One wears 12, one wears 11. It's very confusing. Hey, Eric Price, man, this dude was lights out in this game. Goldie Morrison stepped up big for Las Vegas. That made it 1st and goal in the 3rd quarter. Still 14-3 Scorpions. They are in control at this point, but this was the start of things to come for Eric Price in this passing game. This time, Hubba Kimbrell says, I got it. Don't worry about it. 14-10. Vegas cuts into that lead, but Ashley Jackson and the Scorpions come right back. Look at Hands with the muscle into the end zone for the score. Arizona back up 21-10.
Yeah, and both teams were really trying to establish the run, but the passing game was what was moving the chains and getting both of these teams down the field in this ballgame.
Under 5 to go, John Blades makes that catch. Here's another 3rd down for Las Vegas, and Eric Price delivers to Doug Britton down to the 5-yard line. 3 minutes, 10 seconds, and counting as Britton gets a 1st down. There you see Price's numbers there, 13 of 20 for 208. Just didn't have as many opportunities as some other quarterbacks are getting, but still doing a lot with his opportunity. Look at the blocking by Doug Britton on the outside. Springs Hubba Kimbrell into the end zone, and all of a sudden, Vegas has a 24-21 lead. Now 4th and 4, and DJ Moses gets the handoff, and Vegas gets the stop, and all of a sudden, that's a win. Vegas pulls the upset on Las Vegas. Tyler Falk with a brilliant call on the back end of that game makes it 24-21. And actually, well, before we get to Vegas, actually, let's go back to the highlights. Let's hit San Diego and Seattle. as the West Coast of the SFL continues to outdo themselves. This game didn't get good until the second half. It was 10-3 Seattle. It was a snoozer, but now 10-10 in the third, and Hunter McWaffle with a couple of broken tackles. See you later. That's what San Diego needs more of, explosive plays.
Yeah, and that's really nice play to have too. Seattle has a speedy defense, so for your running back to get out there and explode and get your ground game, that big play, you love to see that.
3rd and inches, down 17-10, and Baloo Scott. Look at Pauly Truth getting down the field, 20 yards down the field to get the block. Zach Holdorf hurt, insult to literal injury for San Diego, and we're tied again at 17. After Seattle had a 10-3 lead, San Diego scored 14 unanswered. They had all the momentum, and then Baloo Scott does what Hunter can do and scores and gives Seattle back the lead. This was a wild one.
Full of explosive plays there, and still time on the clock. That's a great ball game, and you love to see that when two teams come out there and compete there for that title on the West. You're trying to show that you have the West Coast dominance, and both of these teams going out and bringing it tonight.
3rd and 6, and that sack for Seattle pins San Diego back deep. They would have to, Coach O'Neill not happy with Pickler. I don't think Pickler even saw him. 3rd down and 4, though. Fast forward 3.5 to go. San Diego's got another shot, still down 24-17. Johnny Pickler's had 11 carries in the last 2 weeks on the ground, has been great. Benji Matson with the reception there, helping to keep the drive alive. Fast forward to 3rd and 10. Another opportunity for Johnny Pickler. They roll him out of the pocket. He finds B. Robo. And again, San Diego hanging in there. It was not Pickler's best night in the passing game. 8 for 18 at this point for 156. But Pickler on 3rd down hits Eagle Mondavi. Eagle looking for the pylon is ushered out of bounds. Not sure he exactly saw where he was on the field. That was key. Got him down to the 2-yard line. Down 7. 1st and goal. They keep it in Pickler's hands. Against that goal line defense, should be a mismatch. Pickler's pass is underthrown. Hit Adam Williams in the back of the shoe. So now 2nd down and goal. Seattle gets out of the goal line and gets a sack. Aaron Gooden, a loss of 7 back to the 9. And then on 3rd down and goal, now Pickler's in real trouble. Back deep, fires it, and Benji Matson caught it, but he was out of the back of the end zone. So now 4th and goal, and this is where Pickler had an opportunity, and he just airmails this hack, and Seattle gets the stop. Unbelievable stand right there.
And that is absolutely just prime time. You can't take your eyes off the screen. If you're the two teams playing, I know your heart rate and your blood pressure is through the roof, but if you're a fan of football and a fan of the Simulation Football League, that's what you're here for. That was a dynamic ending to that game right there. You love to see it.
Aaron Gooden with the key sack, and Seattle's now 5-2. Ashley Jackson caught up with one of their brain trusts, Doug Day, in this week's edition of PGI.
Welcome back to PGI, where I am joined with a good friend of mine, great friend of mine, fantastic friend of mine, Mr. Doug Day. He is co-owner for the Seattle Nemesis that have been playing an outstanding ball game this season. New game, 2K4. Was that the fresh start that you think you guys needed to be 5-2 right now, Doug?
Fresh start?
Fresh start.
I mean, we were the first couple of seasons, we're kind of trending up right now because we had 1 win, then 4 wins. Remember last year we did the hashtag 4 wins. So now we're at 5. So, I mean, the new game definitely has been tricky. Just learning the different nuances of it and how to manipulate it and how to, let's hope this kind of works a little bit. But yeah, we knew going into this new era that teams were it was going to be different. Teams that dominated last 5 seasons may have trouble. Teams that were at the bottom may have more success. So we're kind of seeing a little bit of that on both sides. So it's pretty exciting.
Indeed, indeed. And this recent win over San Diego. Tell me, what do you think the keys to that success was? Because 24 points scored, you only held them to 17. It's a high-powered offense. So, what do you think some of the keys were?
I think the keys, first off, Aaron Gooden, Ty Patak, TJ Harper, they put together an awesome playbook. So we had to
Yeah,
figure out, you know, the biggest thing was to stop Johnny from throwing. So we felt we did a pretty good job on that. And then Johnny comes out running. It's like, wait a minute. where does this come from? And that was, that kind of goes back to what you said about, the keys to the new era was like, now we got to stop the running quarterback. That's a whole nother factor. So when we saw Johnny doing that, I was like, okay, let's see if we can't get something in there that spies on him a little bit. But it was a battle. It was like all the games in this league, if we win, it's a bittersweet victory because we're so connected with everybody in the league. It's like you can't just come out and say, yeah, we whipped your butt. Sorry, we won. Because Mike O'Neill has stayed at our house many times, and to we love Dave Axis and we love San Diego, but at the end of the day, it's like we got to do what we got to do. And at the end, #5 wins.
right. Indeed,
So,
and you're right. It is good to be able to have that camaraderie with people,
mhm.
even though you you handle your business on the field.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you're still friends. It was just a battle, a chess match that you
Hmm.
won, and
Yeah.
definitely came out on top with that one. So, leaders of the Pacific Division right now, what do you think that Seattle has to do to be able to continue the successful run that you guys are on right now?
Stay consistent. That's pretty much it. We have to keep building our defense. We have to keep opening holes for Baloo. Um,
Hmm.
we have to find a way to get our wide receivers into space. We got to teach Polly how to catch the short passes. He still he still has trouble with those. I'm not sure why, um, but our defense, I feel that our defense is really stepping up. Um, and as it goes along, we do the progressions and we add things, attributes each week. So I feel that we've added the right attributes at the right time, and we're starting to bring it. That first couple of games we gave up high point totals. Last couple of games kind of kept it down a little bit. The
Hmm.
two games that we lost were very close. Could have went either way at any time. So our thing is we just have to stay consistent, and hopefully we just find something that you know we fall into that ACA category of haha, here we come. #6 wins hopefully.
Hey, I think personally, you definitely fall into that category of like Portland, where it's sneaky. You don't know how to prepare
Yeah,
for them because you think they're going one way and it's totally different. So keep it up, keep up the good work, Seattle. I wish you guys the best of luck, and I can't wait to see how far you guys go. For the rest of the season.
it's going to be a fun run. It's going to be
Indeed, it
fun.
is. Thank you, Doug. I appreciate your time, brother.
No problem, anytime.
All right, back to you in the booth.
Thank you, Ashley, and thank you, Doug, for sitting down with us this week. All right, back to the Vegas game. This, when you break down the box score, this game was wild. Vegas converts 13 of 14 on third down. They punted one time. That was the third down they didn't convert. No turnovers for either team. 5 possessions for each team. Vegas scored on 4 of those possessions. It was such a weird game. Both teams moved the ball well, particularly Vegas, who had 21 more plays than Arizona did. They kept that supercharged offense off the field. And, hey, if that's the way you're going to win football games, that's the way they're going to win football games. I just love how different all the teams are, and Vegas is certainly a unique ball club.
Yeah, and they're probably one of the teams that have had the most drastic flip of personality coming into this. Used to think of Vegas as a team that would like to air it out, throw the ball quite a bit, didn't really have a running back, so to speak, that you would call a bell cow. Now this season, enter Hubba Kimbrell, paid his dues within the team and has been given a starting position, and not only a starting position, but a healthy workload up near the top in the SFL and carries, and just nonstop getting the ball for Vegas, and they rely on him so much to move the change, to do the dirty work for Vegas. But one of the things that impressed me the most was, you see the 13 of 14, a good chunk of those, probably half, were on the arm of Eric Price, and I think a big shout out to the offensive coordinator for Vegas is due. They found a concept that worked really well for them. And they used it at key points in the game to keep the drive alive for them. So that was a nice wrinkle in the game plan for Vegas. But I mean, they're absolutely riding Hubba Kimbrell. They're riding him into the dirt. They're saying, "You're our workhorse. We go as you go."
Arizona falls to 5-2, just like Seattle. Both teams have lost a couple of really close games. They are elite just as much as the unbeatens are, and we had 2 of the 3 in action this week. Florida was in Jacksonville to take on the Kings. This is a rematch from a couple of weeks ago. Look at this interception, but on the return, it's fumbled, and Jacksonville picks it back up, and they avoid some trouble. When they played Florida just a couple of weeks ago, 6 picks for O.J. Bruin. It was just a really bad day. They lost 45-10. Tried to vow that it would be different here at the Lions' Den, so they get the football back, and O.J. Bruin, at least at the start, yeah, it's looking okay. Connor Weston with the touchdown, and Jacksonville takes a 7-0 lead over the Storm. Florida's been down before. Ron Cochran rolling, firing. Look at that. E.J. Minson, one of the most underrated receivers in the league, in my opinion, Hack. We'll get your opinion on that here in a minute. O.J. Bruin's pass picked off by Francis. This is the exact thing they did not want to see. It was 10-7 at the half a couple of weeks ago. It was only 7-7 in this game. Very similar start to this one, as the Kings were very much in it. 2nd and 4. Handoff to Doyle out of the halfback spot. Florida playing bully ball through the first 8 weeks of the season, Hack.
Yeah, and they really have looked pretty good. The only real knock that you can have on them is, who have they played that's had a really tough record or winning record? But outside of that, Bullet Boletsky has been absolutely dominant. Looking at the stats for Ron Cochran on the season, only been sacked 8 times, has a 75% completion rating. So really, protecting the ball, doing what the offense needs while they ride Boletsky, the bullet that is Charlie Boletsky, to all these wins.
Couldn't agree more. O.J. Bruin, look at this guy, taking off on his own after getting the long ball completed to David Gears. That's a first down, and then Bruin finds Connor Weston again, the red zone target, with the score. So Jacksonville's tied things up, 14-14 heading into the second quarter. The fans love it. 3rd down and 4, Jacksonville football. That pass is picked off. Evan Carroll, 3rd pick of the game for Bruin. That's 9 against Florida this season. Bruin can't bring him down. That's just a touch embarrassing. Carroll gets it all the way into Jacksonville territory and into scoring position. So now it's Ron Cochran's turn, but oh no! Young Vaught picks it off and gets a couple of assists from his D-line, and he's gone. It looked like a total game changer, tied at 21 as Jacksonville flips the script on Florida late in the 3rd quarter. However, Bruin is picked again in the late stretches of this thing, and Florida would hold on to win 31-27. 21. They remain unbeaten. Jacksonville falls to 2-5. Let's go to San Antone, where the undefeated Artillery were taking on a winless Mexico City team that came out passing. Hashtag finally. Jordan Sipe to Terrell Cooper for the touchdown, makes it 7-0, 4 minutes in. And Hacker, just when Mexico City's getting all the feels, they're feeling all good about what they got going on. Deuce Fennick with a crushing blow on the kick return TD.
And there's no love lost between these two teams in the South Division. They're going to bring it, so you have to be prepared on all three phases. And Alamo City sneaks one in here, and that's a huge gut punch because Mexico City has been looking for something all season long. And they started out this game, they get some points, and then right after to have the kick return go to the house is demoralizing. That one hurts.
And then Alamo City demoralizing the D-line of Mexico City, as they have most of their opponents this season, makes it 14-7. Jordan Sipe throws that ball behind the receiver. That's picked off. Makes it 14-7 Artillery late in the second quarter. But it's only 17-7 at this point. And Ace Fennick hits Rainstorm, actually 17-14 now. We pick it up late in the third. That's the fullback going out and making plays in the route trees. Very next play for Alamo City. It's Ace Fennick to Kendra Wells, her first catch of the game. So Alamo City really starting to mix things up when they needed to answer the Mexico City Aztecs' potential comeback. This is what they do, Hack. They wear down teams in the fourth quarter. Brad Jones and this offensive line, they are tough to stop.
Yeah, Mexico City just, knocking at the door, creeping, trying to stay in this game. And Alamo City with a great opportunity. When you've got a great running back like Brad Jones in the backfield, you tote him the rock. You let him carry the ball, you let him chew up some clock, and then this is what happens for you.
That's it. That's all she wrote. Alamo City tacked on another touchdown, made it 31-14. Let's get to some blowouts. We start last night. Sioux Falls just creamed Tulsa, 37-13. Tulsa threw interceptions on their first 5 possessions and on the last play of the game, just to rubbing it in, the type of night that they had. Look at that stat from Julian Tyree and the Sparrows passing offense, 12.5 yards per attempt. Tulsa way too soft on that back end, and Tulsa had no touchdowns in 4 red zone trips. The points off turnovers, the difference in this one. What do you think of Sioux Falls, Hack? 3-4? Tulsa's a bit of surprise, disappointing 1-5. How do you see these teams in the Central?
Tulsa's been struggling. No way around that. And they're a team I do root for, but when you're 1-5 at this point in the season, it's going to be pretty tough. So you really got to figure things out, and just odds are you're not finding it this season. Sioux Falls is a little bit more interesting to me. They've kind of been up and down all over the place. I think defensively, they are what they are. They're always a consistent, they're a turnover team. They're going to get the ball. They're going to play really, really good defense. The thing that's been most interesting to me is the running game for Sioux Falls has seemed not just this season, but they seem to be moving towards more of a pass happy team. And I think these numbers here reflect that perfectly. That they've done a really good job moving some wide receivers onto their team, highlighted by Kay Marion, an explosive downfield receiver who does a really good job. But I think Sioux Falls has got a really tough schedule, and those 24 points off turnover, if they can even get half of that in any of the games moving forward, I think you can chalk that up as a win with the way they kind of try to control the ball and play good defense. If their defense is getting them the ball and the offense is capitalizing, Sioux Falls is probably going to win.
Gabriel Manning, 809 yards this season, including 235 in this one. That's the best output by a receiver other than Noe Terrasas' banner day early in the season. 13 catches, 235 for Manning. He was terrific, but he was the entire Tulsa offense. Sioux Falls doesn't have much of a run game. They're going to need to work on that, or some better defenses are going to start to pick up on their one-dimensional style. And hey, how about this? Tulsa is 1-5, and they've also had both of their byes already. So that's something to consider for the Desperados. They have no room for error. Okay, so Canton beats Queen City once, little slip up, then goes out, beats them again, 30-7. Dominant performance. Queen City had 9 first downs. They were only on the field for less than 12 minutes. That's almost just a quarter of football, 198 yards. They were outscored 24-0 in the second half, including 2 fumbles. Queen City has shown flashes of brilliance this season, but not like Canton, who's hoping for a Motor City win here tonight. A Motor City loss tonight against Louisiana in the Monday Night Spectacular to get back into first place in the North.
Yeah, just Lakeman for Queen City. You know, they've done good. You know, I like some of the things that they've done. I think Tom Welsh, their head coach, has got that ship moving in the right direction, pun intended. So it's just kind of a growing season for Queen City, and I think they've shown a bunch of positive strides to this point. Canton, though, as you mentioned, is very invested in this game here tonight. A lot rides on this game, and it's been really fun to watch them. You know, when they brought in Scar Patterson, I thought that they might try to go through the air a lot more, but they're wanting to use Robert Johnson as their focal point, and to this point, you know, he's done a nice job carrying the load for them. And they've done a really good job also, like, winning some close games and keeping themselves in these games, losing a couple but also winning a couple.
Yeah, Canton's playing that old school type of football that I know that their ownership is just absolutely loving. You know, just watching what they're doing to some opponents right now. 4-3, they had a close loss to Baltimore. They're going to be in it till the end, I think, down the stretch. All right, let's get to a couple underrated games. If you missed them this weekend, maybe go back and check them out. Although we got the highlights for you right here. Look at Christian Pierce. just a little bit of a can I dance? Can I not dance? Indianapolis goes up 7-0 on Denver. Telemax Scarborough, off the edge, was ridiculous in this game. 3 sacks and that 5-yard loss on Bailey O'Shaughnessy. How many times have you seen Bailey drop for 5 yards this season?
Normally he's shaking somebody off, making a move, and getting 20 yards down the field. You rarely see that.
Toss out to Christian Pierce instead, and Pierce gets outside. A couple of poor angles there, especially there from Nick Kindler, and Christian Pierce is off to the races. He's going to slide into the end zone, and just like that, Indianapolis, who ditched the gradient checkered flag and went with a more cleaner look this week, and they looked the part. 14-3, Indy on top of Denver now in the second quarter. 3rd down and 6. Gene Struthers has 3 out in the pattern. He's going to take it himself. Off the pump fake, gets the first down, but he fumbles it. Adam Wiseman knocked it loose as he's going to the ground. Love that. Forget that the quarterback's a protected runner. Who cares? Joel Harleman, the fullback. Nice little wrinkle this week from Indianapolis on the offensive side of the ball. So now it's 3rd down and 7 against a linebacker blitz that's picked up. And look at Colin Pierce. I can do it too. But Pierce gets a little bit caught up on Ryan Roosevelt. That actually overturned this call, made it 4th down, forced a field goal. 17-3. There's another sack now. 17-6 late in the 3rd. That's Scarborough again. So 17-9 off of another Denver field goal. And Jay Viper, who's been a little quiet recently, gets a nice kick return to set Indianapolis up in some great field position. You're pretty high on Denver. This was a great win for Indianapolis.
Yeah, you know, just watching Denver this season and monitoring, you know, their roster composition, how they spent their cap. I really just no disrespect. I just had a low bar for Denver this season, and so for them to already have, you know, 3 wins to this point, be 500 at you know, basically the midway point of the season, it's not where I expected them to be. So huge kudos to the coaching staff and front office there in Denver. Overperforming, in my opinion, looking really solid. Just Indianapolis was the better team on the field in this one.
Christian Pierce, after the Harleman run, gets into the end zones, makes it 24-9 at the end of the 3rd. Denver still some fight in them. 3rd and 3. Watch Struthers here. Stiff arm, hurdle, 1st down. Protect that football, man. Matt Dre coming in, almost popped it out from behind. But Gene Struthers, we've seen a couple of quarterbacks, Pickler included. Look at that run. That's impressive.
Yeah, I love the looking for contact there from a quarterback, throwing the arm out there, even though that's the throwing arm, still going to use it to stiff arm a defender, saying I'm just as dangerous a weapon with my feet as I am with my arm. Interesting choice there from quarterbacks, but I do love to see it. I love a scrambling quarterback, that's for sure.
3rd and goal, Logan Keel got to make that play. He doesn't. Denver gets the field goal, and then Indianapolis relies on that ground game to run it out. 24-12, Indy 2-5. Portland, Houston, Cyrus Jive to Scott Johnson. This guy has been a kick return machine. This signing wild from Houston. And everybody laughed at him. They're not laughing now. Josh Slapp counters back in the second quarter, makes it 10-7. Headhunters, 3rd down and goal. Look at this. Boom, sack from the backside. Derek Majors, who was embarrassed in week 1 against Seattle on the pass rush, he's improved. That's the second time Portland sacked Houston on a goal-to-go situation, forcing a field goal. Josh Rowe, just before the end of the first half, ends that drive, makes it 13-7 Headhunters at the break. Cyrus Jive, I still don't know how. I've watched that like 5 times. Nelson Lozano made that catch. That's a 9-yard pickup. Portland would get a touchdown at the end of that drive, but Josh Slapp looking spicy.
And that's just as invested. Houston went out. They took this running back in the draft. Said, we don't know exactly what you are, how you're going to fit, but we're willing to give you an opportunity, and he's paying off for him this season.
Brody Gulch, 5-yard loss in the backfield on 3rd and 1. Another TFL forces yet another field goal, 16-14, but now it's G.P. Wells. Unfortunately for him, more from him in this game later. Just outside of the goal line, Leo Morris makes a touchdown-saving tackle. Headhunters fans love it. Trying not to kick another field goal on this drive. And look at little creative Jalen Wells, the fullback, out of the backfield from Dave Burr, puts Houston up 23-14. And then DR Sim. Oh, man, if you're just going to embarrass them like that, gets away from one, spins away from another, and has enough muscle to get the touchdown. Now it's 30-14. Game over, right? Wrong. Cyrus Jive and this Portland Fleet offense, there just is no quit. Look at that. Michael Knight down the field in double coverage. Gets Portland into Houston field position. 30 seconds later, there you see Jive's numbers, 220 and counting. Jive in zone, touchdown. Michael Knight, 30-20, 2-point conversion fails. Look at G.P. Wells in the he dropped it. He drops the onside kick. The running back for Houston on the hands team drops it. So 2.5 to go. Cyrus Jive back the other way. Israel Adams, too strong. Touchdown. Portland makes it 30-27. They kick it deep, trying to get the stop now with all the momentum on Portland's side after they trail by 16. Now only down 3. 3rd down right here for Houston. Portland got to have it. And Josh Slapp gets the first down. Not GP, not Jalen, but Josh Slapp, the rookie, makes it happen. And, Houston holds on for the 30-27 win, and they improve to 4-3. Let's break that one down a little bit more. Portland, they had the statistical advantage in this one. 6 for 11 on 3rd down. All 4 trips in the red zone were for touchdowns, but the only thing I can pinpoint, Hack, was that Houston was just able to control the ground game better than Portland in that 4th quarter because they had the lead and the rock.
And that totally makes sense. When you have a great 2-headed monster, G.P. Wells, Josh Slapp, and then you throw in the fact that you have a talented fullback, an able-bodied receiver and rusher. You got 3 weapons there in the backfield. So if you're able to control the ground game, move the chains, and stick with the ball, I mean, those are good recipes for a win in these ball games. And so kudos to Houston. My heart rose whenever I saw that onside kick. I don't see that very often, and that's your hands team. Those are the people you count on. This is what you're out here for. So to have that come up as a bobble, and I've noticed that more and more too. Also on like punt returns, on fair catches, they'll call a fair catch and they'll actually bobble the punt return. So maybe need to look into some better hands on these special teams units.
It can get dangerous, but Houston does survive. They get to 4-3. If they would have lost, that would have been 3 home losses in a row, but they avoid it. Portland's got a tough next couple of games coming up. They take on Alamo City next week, and then they've been flexed in to Monday night in 2 weeks at Arizona. They do host Alamo City, but a tough couple of weeks for Portland. They want to at least split that. They don't want to be 3-6 after week 10, heading into the final stretch of the season. They've been there and done that before. This is a much better team, and they got to avoid that. Quickly back to Indianapolis, the 24-12 win. Denver, no touchdowns and 3 red zone trips was huge, but the average field position was in Indianapolis' favor too. Own 35-yard line That's a great place to start if you're an offense. Indy's 2-5. That doesn't seem very spectacular, but heck, they're just a game and a half back of first place in a weak Central Division this season. Minnesota's first, and guess who Indy plays next week? Minnesota. So you just never know. They definitely want revenge getting stomped in week 1.
Yeah, absolutely. That was quite, I guess, an infamous performance from Indy, but a quite memorable, nice performance for the rest of us. We all quite remember that one well, and I know they want to recover from that. This is probably one of the better rivalries in the SFL. So when these two teams meet, it means so much to these two teams, but also to the community. So everybody's going to be watching that game, and the fact that it has division importance, playoff importance, is going to make it that much more of a spectacle.
And that game is next week, Sunday night at 9. All right, so for the first time this season, we have your standings. We have your road to the championship presented by Zolnir Championship Rings. So there's your tiebreakers at the bottom. We're not going to get into the minutia, but here's some things you need to know. Remember, Seattle beat Arizona earlier this season. That's why they have the 4 spot and the first round bye at the moment. Motor City currently leads the North, but if they lose tonight, Canton has the tiebreaker. Canton would jump to 6th place in the North. They have not played Carolina yet, and Carolina has the head-to-head over Baltimore at the moment, so they still lead the Atlantic. There you see Minnesota, the leader in the Central, at 3-3, clinging to that, and then a bunch of good teams under the line, including Vegas and Denver, who we'll see next week on the Monday Night Spectacular, and Louisiana, who we'll see tonight against Motor City on the Monday Night Spectacular. What stands out to you here on this road to the championship, Hack?
516 for Vegas. Strength of victory stands out there at the 15 spot. Fort Worth with the 290 at the 3 spot stands out a little bit. That'll be interesting as the 1 and 3 are in the same division, so that could play some importance if they end up with the same record there. Looking at Carolina and Baltimore right there at the 7 and 8. Again, we've hinted at those matchups there for the remainder of the season for Carolina, Charleston, and Baltimore. Charleston over there at the 17 spot. Those 3 teams could move around quite a bit over the next couple of weeks. So that Atlantic Division is one to watch for sure. The South with Alamo City, Fort Worth, and Houston there at 10 could be one to watch. And the other thing I noticed, Cameron, was that there's a lot of teams in this bracket, the top 12, they're kind of new faces. Not a lot of playoff experience aside from a couple of teams in this top 12 right now.
So that is a look at your road to the championship presented by Zolnir. Another one little asterisk note. Remember that Motor City in the North, your North leader right now, because they only have 3 teams in the division. It was talked about earlier in the season. To get that automatic berth, you have to have a better record than the 12th best team. The 12th best team right now is San Diego, 4-4, and the division leader is currently 4-2. So that automatic spot would still apply to the North at this moment, but it is razor tight, and that, as we expect, is going to be very close all throughout the season. All right, so Eddie Gage is going to be on the call with me on this Monday Night Spectacular this week, and we've got a good one, Motor City and Louisiana, coming up. Here is the breakdown. Motor City leads the season series, or the all-time series, which was a little bit surprising, 4-3, but the teams have not played since season 18, and that game was last won by the Louisiana Revolution. This season, Motor City has one score loss, and Louisiana has, that should say 3. Let me rephrase and fix the graphic. Motor City has 2 one-score losses, and Louisiana has 3. Almost all of the losses by these two teams have been close. Rushing touchdowns, Motor City tops in the league. They get in the red zone, and they figure out how to get the ball in there with Christopher Dean and Bill Cherry. Both teams are +3 in turnover differential, so they've not turned the ball over much, and they are taking it away from these teams. And watch that defensive line up front for the Louisiana Revolution in the trenches. They have 6 defensive sacks from D tackles this season, and that's pretty impressive, especially when teams are out there saying they can't get pressure with their defensive front. So Motor City has the advantage record-wise. Louisiana has the home field advantage tonight. How do you see this playing out, Stephen?
I think that I would say that Louisiana has my nod here. The only caveat to that being if Motor City shows that they have some quick hitting passes, I think that could spell disaster for Louisiana. But everything else, I really like what Louisiana can do on the ground, controlling the clock. I think they always play solid defense. So I think, and as you highlighted, the 6 defensive tackle sacks, if that pressure is able to get home and they're able to disrupt Motor City's passing game, then I think that it's Louisiana's ball game to win. If Motor City can come out and with some quick 3-step drops and quickly get the ball out, I think that might spell a little bit of a recipe of disaster for Louisiana in this one. So my heart's saying Louisiana's got this one. That's where my vote would go.
And that's it for Week 8. That's your wrap up. Final thoughts on Week 8, Stephen? You Fort Worth gets back at it this upcoming week against Vancouver. Big game on Saturday, but it was I think we learned a lot here in Week 8. We're starting to see some teams really find their identities. Whether it's too late, that's up for debate. But at least you're starting to see some teams figure it out.
Well, there's always something to be said about even if it is too late. Your record may not this season may not go as well for you, but if you can build your identity, right? There's always next season. You want to, if your team is on the losing record side of things, your front office should be looking at things like retention, player engagement. How do we keep our players invested in our locker room, built in and buying into our brand and what we're selling, right, as our team? And so the work's never done, right? Just because your record isn't where you want it to be doesn't mean that your front office and your ownership group doesn't have something you need to be working on. And so you can take some small victories from this season and roll it into some bigger victories for next season. So the work is never done. And if you give up, you take a week off, you're going to find yourself behind every time.
Couldn't have said a better hack. Eddie Gage and I will have the call here coming up at 1:15 for all of us at the This Week in the SFL crew. I'm Cameron Irvine, and this has been a presentation of the Simulation Football League, and we'll see you in a few minutes for Motor City and Louisiana. Let's have a great night of football, everyone.